The 2022 season is underway. With 2 races under our belts, we head to Talladega.
Green flag is in the air, and we are racing at Talladega.
We've had our fair share of excitement. Watch out for the big one. It'll eat you up and spit you out. Who will rise? Who will fall? This is ARCA Menards Series Racing on FS1.
Talladega Superspeedway, home to high speeds, big crashes, and thrilling competition. This is the General Tire 200 on FS1. We're excited to bring you ARCA Menards Series Racing action for race number 3 of the season. And we have a special guest today, and he just so happens to be this year's Daytona 500 champion.
And Austin Cindric from Mooresville, North Carolina will get his first career win in ARCA. He wins at the Kentucky Speedway.
Austin Cindric wins at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Austin Cindric is the Xfinity Series champion. To block Ryan Blaney, and at the line, Cindric beats Bubba Wallace by half a car length.
Austin Cindric, the winner of the Daytona 500.
Hello, everyone. I am Jamie Little, and you saw him there, Austin Cindric. He's won at all 4 levels of stock car racing. Not many drivers have done that. Of course, Phil Parsons joining us now. Happy to have you trying something new today. You look back at those highlights. What did the ARCA Menards Series do for your career?
Yeah, happy to be here. Obviously, some pretty happy moments. Got a different suit on today, but yeah, definitely excited to call this ARCA Menards race. And like you mentioned, ARCA Menards is really the only platform, the first platform from grassroots racing. You can come out and do this type of plate racing, type of speedway racing. So there's a lot of drivers in the field trying to learn this, trying to figure it out as they go. And I think you're going to see drivers evolve throughout the race as far as what they figure out, working with their spotter, trusting the drivers around them, maybe not trusting the drivers around them, and hopefully having some fun and trying to fight for a win.
Well, I know you've been doing your homework, and you see that the main storyline today is Corey Heim. Can anybody stop him starting on the front row, Phil?
Yeah, he's just so good, and I think he's one of those kids like Austin was talking about, a short track race from Georgia, and he sees this opportunity. First time he went on a super speedway was right here, and he wins. And then this year at Daytona, he does it again with just masterful fashion, too. He was able to control the restart. He had the restart late in the race, as you can see right here at Daytona. He controls the restart. He controlled each line. He got back down to the bottom, to the yellow line. He was able to hold on down the backstretch to the lead. There you can see him right there. And then he had a teammate lined up behind him, and I think that's a key for a lot of his success is the fact that he's had a very strong team, and he has great teammates. Venturini Motorsports has been so good at this kind of racing. As you can see here, they have won the last 2 ARCA Menards Series races here, as well as the last 5 ARCA Menards Series races at Daytona. So that's 7 wins at this kind of racing, and each one of those races that they won, they had at least 2 drivers in the top 5, sometimes 3. So they have a very strong team, and Corey Heim is the leader of the pack.
They've been incredible, and Menards Motorsports has been around for 40 years. What do you see when you look at this team, and why they're so good?
Well, I think it's quality and quantity. Like you mentioned, they've got 4 really fast cars and 4 really capable drivers. And when you look back at Daytona, you see the cooperation it takes from Parker Chase and being able to get lined up. I think today, if I'm a competitor in this race that's not driving for Venturini, I want to be able to break that up, get the front row to be different so you don't get those teammate restarts, and I think then it's anybody's game.
It's funny when you talk to anybody in the garage that's not affiliated with Venturini, we want to beat them, whatever it takes. Let's get together, work together. But Corey Heim is the man we've been talking about starting outside front row. He caught up with our Kate Osborne moments ago.
He won his first ARCA Menards Superspeedway last year and has continued to win the rest in a row. 3 for you, Corey. How did you learn to excel in these superspeedways?
Yeah, I think really just surrounding myself with great people at Venturini Motorsports. This Custom Tools camera is really fast, and it always has been. So looking forward to getting back at it today. Still surrounding myself with great people at Venturini Motorsports. I'm looking forward to go out and try to win again.
You're mentioning looking forward to getting out there today. What's the plan?
Really just with no qualifying, being second on the outside front row, I think just try to take the lead from the start and really just feeling it out. You never really know how these super speedways are going to play out. So if it's chaotic, we might try to drop to the back, but if it's not, we'll try to take the lead.
Bit by bit, these guys are going to figure it out here as they get started. Jamie?
And thank you, Kate. Yes, you talk about the teammates. It's interesting because a couple of the Venturini cars up front and a couple mired back, and one of those, Tony Breidinger, the only issue we had in practice.
Yeah, she actually got involved. They had a little brief 4 or 5 lap practice session. She got run into from behind and got into the wall. They had to go to her backup car. And what's interesting is Chad Bryant is a crew chief for Daniel Dye, who's our point leader and probably one of the more strongest competitors, had a 3rd place run at Daytona. I went down in the garage area, and Chad Bryant and his team were helping Billy Venturini and his bunch get that backup car prepared for Tony.
And so was Tony. They were all hands on deck. There were a few drivers actually down there, but 33 drivers, they are strapped in. They are ready to go. You see the last minute adjustments there. Drew Dollar right there starting on pole. Let's go trackside for the command.
Race fans, here to say the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome parts manager with Lynn Layton Ford, Chris Hampton.
Drivers, start your engines.
And we are ready to kick off this doubleheader day right here on FS1. Stay tuned. ARCA Menards Series Racing action coming to you. It's the General Tire 200 after this.
The ARCA Menards Series has an illustrious history at Talladega Superspeedway. The first race was in October of 1969 and was 500 miles. Jim Vandiver won the race that day from the pole position. The Alabama gang is a big part of the history at Talladega. And for the ARCA Menards Series, Alabama gang member Davey Allison is one of the Speedway's most successful drivers. Davey won 4 ARCA Menards Series races at Talladega, but it was 3 in a row, starting in 1983, that showed he was following in the footsteps of his father, 3-time Cup champion Bobby Allison.
Most competitive ARCA race that I've ever seen here at Talladega. You know, everybody was running strong.
The 2.66-mile Superspeedway has provided us with some great moments and incredible drama over the last 50 years in the ARCA Menards Series.
Big contact, caution!
And it's over at Talladega.
Who today will add their name to the list of greats that have won here at Talladega?
And the history runs so incredibly deep at Talladega Superspeedway. First race back in 1969. There's no place quite like Talladega. And today, showing off all her beauty, not a cloud in the sky. Absolutely perfect day, Austin, for a race here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. This weekend has had such a great vibe to it. Just perfect weather, and Talladega, there's so many people. It's a great way to kick it off with ARCA Menards.
And we'll take a look at our points leaderboard here after 2 races of the 20-race season schedule. Daniel Dye in the 43 on top. Very consistent, finished 3rd and 2nd. He only has 1 spot more to go. Let's check in with him. Dial him up, Phil.
Yeah, let's do that. Hey, Daniel Dye, Phil Parsons, Jamie Little, Austin Cindric up in the Fox booth. You got a copy?
What's going on, guys?
Well, we're up here just going to watch you and see what you can do. Our point leader, great start to the season so far. Obviously a 3rd place run at Daytona on your first Superspeedway race, but just a few moments ago we talked about Venturini Motorsports and how strong they are with multiple cars. Daniel, do you guys have a way to get together with some of your other competitors to battle the Venturini cars?
Yeah, those guys work really well together, and I think we have a plan of who we want to work with to be able to break up those guys and hopefully have somebody else in victory lane this time. We're at a Superspeedway, so I know we want to be the ones that are there. This 43 car would look really good in victory lane with 1 Daytona and highest LED. They're in victory lane, so we're going to do everything we can to make that happen.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you talking to us. Have a good ride.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys.
Perfectly laid plans. We'll see how that all shakes out in the end. Well, the General Tire Pole Award was won by Drew Dollar. There he is accepting that pole award. In the number 18, by the way, that was Ty Gibbs, team and car last year. And as we take a look at our General Tire starting grid, let's check in with Pit Road. We have Kate Osborne and Josh Sims. How are you doing, Josh?
Well, doing great, and you know who's doing great? Drew Dollar. He's on the pole for this one. He said it's the easiest pole he's ever had to win because there was no qualifying. Now, he won this race back in 2020. He said that was a special win because it was the first ARCA race back after the shutdown due to the pandemic. Now, he said he knows this won't be as easy as a win as that one, but he said the good thing, he's got a very fast car. In fact, feels he has the fastest car in the field. He says the important thing, find good drafting partners and listen to his spotter, Tony Hirschman, who's one of the best in the business. And by the way, Drew Dollar, he's doing double duty after he does this race today. He's got to hop in the Xfinity car, so perfect day would be to sweep both races here at Talladega, Kate.
Yeah, it definitely would, Josh, but a little wrench in the gears for Venturini Motorsports after an incident in practice yesterday between teammates Corey Heim and Tony Breininger that sent her into the wall. They were hoping to qualify and start 3 of their 4 drivers up at the front, but per the rule, pulling out that backup car would make them go all the way to the back for the number 25 team. Now, in talking to Tony today, she said, yeah, Kate, I'm still a little bit sore, but mentally I'm feeling okay. She said the team keeps reassuring me that it wasn't my fault, it wasn't Corey's fault, that it was a racing incident, so my confidence in the car is still really strong. You know, Jamie, one of the things that I find really cool about Tony Breininger is last night as the garage was shutting down, she was actually still out with the team working to get that backup car ready.
Yes, thank you, Kate. She was, and yes, she was sore. This was the biggest hit she's ever taken in a stock car, and I know Corey came up to her and felt bad, but all is good. Starting in the back, but I guess it's not a terrible place to start in the back, right?
No, obviously you got plenty of time to work for it, so Tony's obviously going to try and pick through the pack and find her teammates, but obviously not the scenario you want to be in, but definitely good to be able to have the backup car ready to rip, and I'm sure it's just as fast as the primary.
Well, we've talked about the ARCA Menards series being a development series, and you hope to move up from here as you did. Let's take a look at a few drivers who've been doing other things since we saw them in Daytona. Drew Dollar, Josh mentioned it. He's going to be doing double duty today. He's been dipping in the Truck Series and Xfinity. Nick Sanchez made his debut in Xfinity. And Corey Heim, 5th Truck Series race, and he gets it done this year already. Raja Karuth made his Xfinity debut at Richmond. He has another couple Xfinity races coming up. So that's what the series is all about, right?
Yeah, it's an opportunity that you have to get into a race car. And all those guys really made nice debuts. Raja Karuth did a really good job, as well as Nick Sanchez and Phoenix. So I'm really hopeful that they can showcase their talents here on this big racetrack and have good runs.
This is a great stage for them to show what they're capable of. And hey, this is Talladega. We're going to have a lot of oh no moments, I promise you that. So the Reese's Sweet Move of the race is back. Remember, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, head over to their Twitter page, ARCA Menards Series Twitter page, that's ARCA Racing _ and vote on what moment you think was today's sweet move of the race presented by Reese's. And we always have some fun with those. Sometimes it's a great save, sometimes, well, it's a wreck and then a continuation. You never know.
A pass for the win. It could be anything. We'll have some good choices for him.
Yes, and riding aboard today, 5 different drivers carrying onboards for us. First up, Brett Holmes. This is his home track. Happy to have him back. He's carrying the General Tire on board for us.
We're also going to ride along with Max Gutierrez in the number 32 car. He's a former winner in the ARCA Menards East Series a couple years ago. This is the Reese's onboard camera for Max Gutierrez.
You can also ride on board today with Greg Van Alsten, number 35. He's got the Bounty Rookie Spotlight on board. Get some good shots today.
Indiana driver there, and the 43, Daniel Dye, talked about him. Heck of a job this season so far. Finished 3rd and 2nd. He'll be carrying the Fox Factory on board.
And this is the one we all thought about, which one was going to say this. This is the butt kicker on board for Brayton Laster in the 03. This is a dirt short track racer from Indiana, but what a great onboard camera name. And that's what it is a sim seat for iRacing. It's a butt kicker. It kicks you in the butt.
And Brayton wants to be a butt kicker today.
Yes, he does.
Kick some butt.
He does.
Look at his helmet.
Yeah.
He's got a pepperoni pizza helmet.
I asked him why he had a purple. He said, I really like pizza.
Well, there you go.
I like this guy.
He's from Greenwood, Indiana, so not far from where I'm from, and of course grew up racing, and we'll talk about him more later, but he's got his work cut out for him, by the way. He's starting way deep in the field.
He's a teammate. Big Willie Mullins is his teammate. Willie Mullins has a runner-up finish at Daytona a couple years ago, so good equipment.
Very good equipment. Let's take a look at the race analysis for today. What to expect.
Yeah, this race is 76 laps, 202 miles. You see our pit window somewhere between 50 and 55 laps. There will be a break on or around lap number 38, but a lot of the teams, once they get in their window, they may come earlier than that. If they get a caution at 20, 25, I think we'll see a lot of teams pit then and not even come in during that break.
Now we have a handful of drivers going to the rear for unapproved adjustments. We of course mentioned the 25 at Tony Breidinger. She's in a backup, the only backup, but we have 9 cars total dropping to the back.
They had a very, very brief practice. About 4 or 5 laps is all these teams were allowed to get in practice. So you try to obviously have your car right when you get to the racetrack, but some of those teams had to make some minor adjustments, some major adjustments to before the start of this race.
Down, but certainly not out when you're at Talladega and you're in the back. You're just hoping that you've got some friends around you, some fast cars around you, and maybe some of those rookie bumpers, those yellow bumpers right there.
Hey, I've got some on Sunday. I've got no comment.
Hey, you're a champion at Daytona. I think you're going to have some friends.
They're still yellow.
All right, we got Drew Dollar, Corey Heim on the outside. A couple of Toyotas.
Green.
Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Talladega.
It's a pretty good little drag race going into turn 1. Nick Sanchez looks like he's still able to be really tight to the back of Corey Heim without much help behind him.
You know, some series have rules that you're not allowed to lock bumpers. Truck series do not want you to lock bumpers, but they can lock bumpers here in the ARCA Menards series.
See how long it takes for the pack to get formed up. I think if the 20 and 2 don't get clear here, they're probably going to get freight trained here on the outside. The bottom looks a lot more organized, and that's what the spotters are telling all their drivers. Hey, get to the bottom. It looks like it's getting formed up, and I think everyone is starting to notice that.
How about the 27 inside third row? That's Tim Richmond. Had such a great run at Daytona. Ended up running out of gas because that race went long, but really hoping for a little bit of redemption here to get that finish he deserves.
He had a great day at Daytona, really hoping to do it again. That grassroots team, his dad's in the garage working on the car. So Drew Dollar hangs on to the lead after lap number 1. Corey Heim by himself on the outside. Parker Chase is in the 15 for Venturini Motorsports, running second. And he's dropping back a bit, trying to get to that too. His drafting partner early on looks like they're forming a line on the outside.
Yeah, when you're Corey Heim, you've got to work twice as hard when you have the least amount of help. So it looks like the 20 car falling back has now gotten back to his help with Nick Sanchez. And now what you're looking at, he's got to get that side draft. He's got to get right to the quarter panel of Tim Richmond and be able to pull him back and try and get his help closer. You got 4 decent cars on the outside lane, and they probably need 1 or 2 more to try and challenge for the front row.
I think Corey realized that he wasn't going anywhere. He didn't have enough help, so he consciously backed up to Nick Sanchez, and look at him now. He's side by side with his teammate, the 15 of Parker Chase.
You're starting to see cars wiggle a lot, and that's because we just went through the hardest part of this entire racetrack through that tri-oval. That is where someone's going to get spun out. That's the hardest place to push, obviously, like you saw in practice. So there's going to be a lot of people feeling how their cars are driving with going through that tri-oval.
Riding on board with Daniel Dye, you saw the 35. Greg Van Alst on the outside, little spotter chatter there.
The spotters will talk just about all the way around this racetrack, won't they, Austin?
Yeah, and a lot of these drivers, obviously, it's their first time working with a lot of these spotters. You know, my spotter, Doug Campbell, he's actually spotting for Tim Richmond right now. And, you know, being able to understand what that is, not necessarily listening to what they say, but it's almost like listening to your favorite song. You know, trying to get in the groove of it, trying to listen. Looks like Corey Heim's finally gotten a push to challenge for the lead here. I think it's going to be short-lived, but the outside lane's looking pretty decent.
They're nose to nose. Heim on the outside. He tries to make his way around. Does he make it stick? And nope, Drew Dollar hangs on to it. By the way, Drew Dollar's first laps led since he led 28 in this race last year. But of course, he's part-time, but he gets it done around these places.
Yeah, he just got a good side draft there.
Yeah.
Kate, what are they saying down there?
Daniel Dye spotter Derek Neagland is telling Daniel to stay patient, work with Greg Van Alst as they're making their way up to actually meet Drew Dollar. In fact, there's a text message group going on around Drew Dollar, Greg Van Alst, and Daniel Dye right now, and they are meant to be buddies and dancing partners this weekend here at Talladega. So keep in mind as they're making their way up.
I love how you make friends at these places. It's not necessarily just a teammate, because sometimes you don't have one. It's not always the OEM alliance and who you drive for. Sometimes it's just because one has a fast car or because you like them and you trust them.
That's exactly right. Now we talked to Daniel Dye a little bit about that. They have a plan. As Kate was talking about, they talk about getting together with the 18 car. They talk about getting together with Greg Van Alst. And Nick Sanchez, they really like to like how he does things here. So
I'm sensing a theme. None of them want to go help the Venturini cars.
Tear-off's blowing off as the 20 goes to the lead. Nick Sanchez on the outside. All right, Corey dropping down in front of the 18 for the first time. Corey Heim, Drew Dollar, Nick Sanchez, and Parker Chase, your top 4. ARCA Racing on FS1 is brought to you by Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. By Sioux Chief, America's manufacturer of plumbing, drainage, supply, and support products. And by Richmond Water Heaters, the water heater experts, available at Menards. And we're under caution here for the first time today. Take a look at what happened. Obviously, a cut right rear. It was the 01 of Tim Monroe. Let's see what happened.
See, he was running by himself, and that tire goes down, probably ran over something. Tire goes down. Brad Smith really did a nice job in the red number 48 going to the bottom to avoid Tim.
I think Tim should be able to get back out there, put a new tire on it, and go try again.
Yeah, just keeping it out of the wall. That's huge, and he was able to do that.
22-year-old making his first start here at Talladega as they push him back. He's got those yellow bumpers we were talking about. Hey, look at Ty Gibbs hanging out with his old team that he won the championship with last year. And yesterday, special moment for him, winning the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. He's a teenager and already receiving...
There's an age limit, right?
Accolades like this, right?
It's the only color picture, too.
You're right. Pretty incredible what this young man has done already. I mean, he's won 7 times in 25 Xfinity starts. Unbelievable. And he's out here supporting his buddy. We'll be back, and we'll drop the green flag for the second time after this. Welcome back to the General Tire 200 on FS1 under caution for the first time today. Hey, just up the street from us here at Talladega is the USFL action as it continues with the Birmingham Stallions. They'll take on Kevin Sumlin's Houston Gamblers. That's at 7 Eastern on FS1. It's actually NASCAR night because it is an hour away in Birmingham. So a lot of the drivers and some teams and of course our Fox Sports crew will all be there supporting them. Nice job last weekend. We had over 1 million viewers tuned in for our first USFL. Well, we had a couple cars on pit road under that caution. Josh, what was going on there?
Yeah, well, just an update on Nick Sanchez really quick. They said, or Spotter told him to do everything he can to stay with that lead pack. He said he's having trouble holding steady. He's going to keep working on it. Otherwise, everything is good. And then a quick update on Sean Corr in the 8. They had an ignition problem during practice yesterday. He said over the radio they're having the same issue. It sounds like a popping sound, which can't be too good for that team right now.
Thank you, Josh, for those updates. So what do you think of what Sanchez is complaining about?
Well, I think the important thing is there, it could be because he has lack of help from behind. So I think that Tyler Green, the spotter, is definitely keeping an eye on that for him. And I thought Nick was actually able to close up quite close to the car on the outside. We'll see if 20 was stringing him along or if the 18's got pace as well.
All right, Corey Heim on the bottom. The outside is Drew Dollar.
Like third and fourth row on the outside, a little bit more organized. You got Daniel Dye and Van Alst working together just like we talked about before. So they're going to get to Drew Dollar first. And I think that's going to pay off for this outside lane.
Yeah, Corey Heim actually drove away from his teammate, the 15 of Parker Chase. The green and white car, as you can see right now, the 18 of Drew Dollar has a bit of an edge on, had a bit of an edge on Corey Heim.
When you see the 20 get ahead like that, what is the spotter saying at that moment?
It's the most helpless feeling you could have is being too far out as a leader and not being able to do anything because you don't want to lift. I mean, because that basically generated 3 cars getting almost clear on the outside lane going into turn 3. So right now it's just a drag race, but you see guys pulling down to the bottom here and covering those 2 teammates. I think that's the strategy. You want to be able to keep those teammates as far from the lead as possible, and that was good execution of that opportunity.
That was Daniel Dye we were riding on board with. He's in the 6th position and that number 43 on the outside. And he found his dancing partner, the 35 of Greg Van Alst. That was their plan in Daytona. They did a phenomenal job working together, and they found each other here once again with Raja Karuk right behind him in that red number 6 working with them.
Drew Dollar right now has been able to break up that fence. Another caution.
And caution is out for the second time. There's fluid on the track, perhaps from the 07.
We're hearing possibly that he blew an engine.
That's Brian Kaltrider taking it straight to the garage. All that anticipation, you get the green flag, get a lap under your belt, and then boom, the caution comes.
But all that work to get in front of the Venturini cars, and now we're going to have another restart.
Well, they're going to be separated too. The scoring pylon has them 3rd and 4th, so I think you'll see where everybody's loyalties lie, or otherwise you just have guys racing for the lead, and I think that's what we want to watch and see who's ready to make the moves, who's ready to take the runs, and see how hard those two teammates work to get back together.
Josh, what's the latest with Sean Corr?
Yeah, they continue to have issues with the ignition. They're going to pit here, put the hood up, and try and figure out if they could figure out what's going on with this thing. Like I mentioned before, they've been having this issue since practice. They're going to try and race through it, but it sounds like they're going to have to pit and figure out exactly why they're having these ignition issues.
Unfortunate for the 38-year-old. Well, Greg Van Alst, he's running 5th right now. He is our General Tire driver profile. Let's meet him.
Our sport of racing is really great because it doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are. When you put on a helmet, you're a driver.
I would say NASCAR has done a great job in not only introducing the sport to new people, but making sure that people like me that have been in the sport aren't neglected and aren't taken advantage of and treated a certain way.
You have more diversity as a whole coming into the sport. Just having a new face, one that you probably don't see often, whether it be a Latino, an African American, or a female, I think it attracts new fan bases.
You know, even if it's somebody on the crew, mechanic, driver, there's just more diversity when you're walking through the pits, which is really exciting. I think we still have a long way to go. Seeing is believing, so if somebody sees someone that looks like them, they can see that they can do it themselves.
I think representation is extremely important, and that's why I like basketball growing up, because I see people looking like me performing on television, and if I can be that to somebody, I feel like I'm making the most of the opportunity that I have.
I just really want to be that positive inspiration and role model to younger girls to show them that, it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter your gender. If you want something and you can work hard enough to get it, then it's possible.
Welcome back to the General Tire 200 on FS1. Talladega Superspeedway as we're under caution for the 2nd time. Well, tomorrow on Fox, we go Superspeedway racing with the NASCAR Cup Series right here for 500 miles of blistering door-to-door speed and action. And of course, it all starts tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. It's first of 3 races today, but we're looking forward to tomorrow. Austin Cindric joining us in the booth. Qualifying didn't go perfectly, but you're starting 18th tomorrow.
Hey, I'm in the show, and that's where you got to be to win it, right?
That's right. That's what it's all about. Let's get an update with Kate.
Drew Dollar is extremely quiet on the radio, but Mark McFarland said they're in a much better position now than they were a few laps ago with the number 2 of Nick Sanchez behind them. In fact, Drew is also telling me that he feels there's a whole lot of pressure when you're representing 2 different big names in the sport with Kyle Busch Motorsports here in ARCA and then Joe Gibbs Racing up there in Xfinity, and he is doing double duty today. So a lot of this is also learning for the show for him later on. Jamie?
Yeah, good point. And, people talk about Ty Gibbs. He got in a fight a couple weeks ago. He doesn't have a whole lot of friends on the racetrack, but one guy is Drew Dollar. And we saw that he's sitting on the pit box supporting Drew and supporting the team.
Yeah, he's certainly supporting. But, we touched briefly on the spotters, and Austin talked about his spotter, Doug Campbell, being here. It's so important here, especially for these drivers with inexperience. A lot of those guys on top of the pit box, if they weren't drivers but they've been to so many of these races, and they work with people like you, Austin, and Kyle Busch, like Tony Hirschman. The spotter for Drew Dollar works with Kyle Busch. So invaluable at a place like this.
As we come green, Drew Dollar leads the way. Nick Sanchez, let's listen in on the 20 radio.
Get away. 5. Got a spin behind you here. They're not going to run away at all.
And we have a spin on the restart there. AJ Moyer goes around.
Haven't thrown the yellow yet.
I think a great call by the ARCA officials not to throw the yellow. Caution will come out if that car obviously doesn't get going, but I think you would create so much havoc if you would have thrown a caution or waved off the restart when everyone's ready for it. So great call to keep them going.
Let's see what happened here on that restart.
Seemed like he locked up the brakes there, trying not to run in the back of the car in front of him. Caution's out now, but I don't know if he was waiting for it or not, but I'm sure there's a lot of people on the boulevard laying in the grass, and he laid in the grass there for a while waiting for it.
Third caution of the day.
See damage to the left front corner, so he obviously ran in the back of somebody at some point, if not on that restart.
You get a lot of that accordion effect on the restarts on super speedways.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to time it, especially the further back you go, and you even have it like in the pack. So it's something that's certainly challenging. You kind of have to give yourself more room the further back you are in the pack.
All right, we'll step aside as Drew Dollar continues to lead. Nick Sanchez second, and Corey Heim your top three.
Just a year ago, I had never run an ARCA race, and I was, standing here at this test session, kind of like, scared I was going to wreck the car. And we got really lucky. We got a spotlight feature on the broadcast, and we were able to be second in practice and 8th in the race, and we time trialed very well. The attention and everything that came from that performance, we were able to parlay into sponsorship for an entire season.
An incredible story there. We call him Andy Jankowiak, and he ran a handful of races last year. He's a pizza delivery guy in upstate New York, and that's still his real job. And yet he comes out here and he wheels it, and he's done a great job. He finished 6th at Daytona and 7th here a year ago.
And attracted this major sponsor, Wheelan, obviously full-time sponsor in the Xfinity Series for Richard Childress Racing, and it's a great opportunity. Charlotte will be his next race, is what he told me down in the garage here earlier. So looking to run at least 5 more races as we see Sean Corr still with issues on pit road.
Drew Dollar chooses the outside. Nick Sanchez on the inside, and we're green.
Looks like both lanes are fairly organized. See what Drew wants to do here. He's pulling down in front of Nick Sanchez. I almost wonder if that was organized. Obviously, they're not teammates. They don't even have the same manufacturer, but they work together really well to get the lead. And obviously, that was a pretty easy move for him to get back down to the bottom.
And they talked in the garage. Those were 2 of the cars that were going to work together too. See Tim Richmond.
Stay up tight.
Yeah, Daniel Dye, the 43's on board.
Rajah Caruth on the bottom in the red number 6, started back in 19th. He's worked his way up to 6th, said he had to be patient, but he felt like he had a good enough car to get up there. Nick Sanchez is his teammate. He's trying to reach at the front. Let's check in with Kate.
And talking with Greg Van Alsten, their team, they're saying they're pretty comfortable right now, but unfortunately that last yellow, they actually stopped when they thought the caution was going to be yellow instead of when they actually called it, so they lost a spot. But as you can see, Greg Van Alsten is making his way back up there. In fact, he compared to racing here at Talladega like driving an underpowered semi on the highway. You got to start planning out your moves in turn 2 for turn 4. Have either of you guys ever driven an underpowered semi to know what that actually feels like?
You probably have, Austin.
I've had some race cars I've wanted to say that about. Yeah. Otherwise, no. That's a great analogy for plate racing. You notice that every time you pull off a pit road, you're like, oh yeah, I don't have as much power as I had before. Dang it. Even today, coming in qualifying, oh right, we're plate racing.
I mean, I've run races at places like this in Daytona when I would bruise the bottom of my right foot from pushing the accelerator so hard.
Oh, I have to wiggle my toes to keep keep from falling asleep sometimes, especially when it's single files out. But these guys are not single file. We're still too wide, and these Venturini cars are really struggling to pull this outside lane through. And interested to see if these guys are happy to ride. I think the lanes have been equal enough that if Greg Van Alsten wanted to lead this thing or lead that outside lane, he's got the opportunity to do so right now.
But I think he's going to stay on the inside with his partners that they were talking about. Daniel Dye's not far behind them as well. He's running in the 6th spot right now as we take a look at Parker Chase. Corey Heim's team, you see him up there bumping Corey Heim. And look at how they're moving ahead with that great 2-car draft there.
That's going to carry him for a while, but they're obviously alienating the help behind him. So they're kind of leaving Tim Richmond, and see that kind of accordions out and they get separated. So they're just going to have to keep doing that. Corey Heim's going to have to keep working the side draft. Like I said before, the outside lane, you have to work the hardest to try and be able to keep the inside lane honest.
Rajah Caruth running 5th. What are they saying, Josh?
Well, the big thing for Rajah Caruth was learning how to weigh out his options, when to be aggressive and when to be patient. He said several times during the Daytona race, he would pull out of the line because he anticipated something happening in front of him. He said after the race, his crew chief talked to him and said, hey, you got to get in there. Sometimes you got to risk it. So his goal is to be way more aggressive and most importantly, stay in line in today's race, Jamie.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, he told me he was just feeling it out at Daytona, not really sure what to expect, getting all of this advice that was coming at him from all different angles, which I'm sure you could relate to, Austin, this year, and being a rookie in the Cup Series. But he said, I've got to stop at one moment and just do what I feel is the right thing.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, there's no science to speedway racing. I feel like there's two types of drivers that have success at this racetrack, and they're guys that are run takers and there's run makers. And those are the guys that are in their semi making the run off of turn 2 to make it count off of 4. And then there's some guys that just get a run somehow and take it as far as they can because they're aggressive.
And sometimes the car will put you in that box in one or the other of those. Your car may not be a leader, it may be a pusher.
And these guys are figuring out what they got right now. I mean, limited amount of laps of practice. We're going to be doing the same thing tomorrow, trying to figure out what the strengths and weaknesses of our car are, how well it sucks up. You know, does my car push well? Can it take a push well? Is it stable enough through the tri-oval? All those things, all these drivers are learning, you know, in the first couple laps. And we've only had a few consecutive green flag laps so far, and with 22 laps in the race already. So they're all trying to figure that out pretty quickly to see where they can make the most ground.
Well, under that last caution, Brett Holmes came down pit road. Was that a strategy call, Kate?
In fact, the team said that he's still feeling comfortable, and this is the way they want the day to go. But taking it back to what Brett Holmes is feeling going into this, he said out of 6 Talladegas, last year was the hardest for this hometown guy. He said he was leading at that white flag, and unfortunately, he's still bitter that he has not won a race here at Talladega. So that motivation and that redemption is very strong for the number 23 team.
And Brett Holmes Racing trying so hard to get that victory here. We'll see if it works out for him. Number 8 is Sean Core, had those issues early. He has officially taken it to the garage.
Tough break. He had a top 5 at Daytona this year. Always a good super speedway competitor.
Meanwhile, Corey Heim's gone to work, and he's got really good help from Parker Chase. Getting that side draft, they've gone all the way back up to the leader. Be interested to see how long it takes for them to clear Drew Dollar, and does he stay with the 15 car? Does he pull him through? I think he does, because you know he's been helping him for quite a while, and had a pretty good consistent push, and see both lanes pretty organized right here.
Yeah, I think he will wait till the 15 is clear. If they can both get clear of the 18 of Drew Dollar, I think they'll pull it down. Otherwise, he should stay up with his teammate. Tim Richmond, also the 27, has joined that 2-car pack to help that outside line.
Yeah, he's been looking pretty loose all day. I'm glad that he got up off the bottom. It seemed like he's able to really utilize the speed that he's got in that car.
We came on the air, we talked about the one incident in practice. That was Tony Breidinger, hit the wall hard, worked on the backup car all night. She's up to 9th right now, doing a nice job.
She really is. I talked to her after the wreck. I said, "You okay?" She said, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." What? I said, "Was it a hard hit?" "Oh, it didn't seem that bad." And I, just like you, asked her today, "That's how you feel?" "I'm a little sore today." It was a little harder hit than she thought.
Right line here with the 55. You're doing good here.
See the spotter. She's really doing a nice job, and you get really good cars in that line. You see the 55 of Gustine, and then the 25 of Tony Breidinger, good cars. That helps that outside line.
Tony was working, helping the team work on her car. You see right there, they brought out that backup. She got to work. Jesse Love, who runs in this series, once he's old enough, he will run full-time, but he's part-time this year. He was working on the car, so it was all hands on deck. You know, the ARCA Menards series, that's what they're all about, right? Whatever it takes to go racing on Saturday.
So the sponsor logo into your hand, she's making sure she's putting the sponsor logo back on the car. I can appreciate that. That's usually my duty whenever I get the car.
That's the most important decal on the car for sure. Yeah.
You see this outside lane has gone away. When we were talking about Tony, the two Venturini cars were able to get clear, just as Phil and I had talked about with Parker Chase and Corey Heim being able to get clear down to the bottom, and that's really killed the outside lane, and now we're almost single file.
Tony Breidinger, as you saw there, was the Women's Sports Foundation on the hood. That's founded by Billie Jean King, and Billie Jean King, I'm looking at a tweet right now, rooting her on today.
That's awesome.
So that's really
great.
Awesome.
And I tell you what, just as I say that, Drew Dollar did not like the fact that they were single file behind two Venturini cars. He pulled out, and his help seemed to go with him. Nick Sanchez seems like he's pretty loyal, didn't have to pull out of line, and Nick Sanchez now has his teammate behind him. So I think we've got a lot of guys that aren't complacent to run behind the Venturini cars, and I love it because it's putting on a good race so far.
It really is. They're all working together because they have one goal, and that's to stop those on the inside line right now. Stop Corey Heim as Drew Dollar continues to lead. Nick Sanchez, I'm really impressed once again by his prowess at this super speedway style racing.
He had a lot of talk in the garage area, was that he was one of the cars that everyone wanted to draft with because he knows what he's doing. Really doing a nice job, as well as Raja in the 6 car.
Yeah.
Drew Dollars led 18 laps today. Nick Sanchez, Corey Heim, Raja Caruth, and Parker Chase, your top 5. We'll be back to the Talladega after this. ARCA Racing on FS1 is brought to you by General Tire. Hashtag GT Delivers. By Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. And we're back working lap number 31 of 76. We've had 2 leaders today. Drew Dollar in the 18 continues to lead, and Corey Heim in the 20. And suddenly, we come back from break, things look a little bit different here.
Yeah, we obviously got single file. Just as we went to break, somehow the 15 car, Parker Chase, got shucked to the bottom. I don't know if that was from a bad push or just got loose. I've seen a lot of really loose race cars today, but I think that calmed everybody down and got everybody single file.
And we know we're inside of 10 laps to go. Gosh, from about 8 laps to go probably before we get the competition caution somewhere on or around lap number 38. So no sense taking any chances here. We know everyone's coming to pit road here at lap number 38.
You see Parker Chase there in the 15. He got shuffled back quite a bit. So let's see what happened and how he got shuffled.
See him on the inside. That's the green and white car. Maybe get stuck. Did he get stuck in? There's going to be contact right here. That's what happened. Greg Van Alst in the 35 made a little contact. He had to get out of the throttle, and that's why he lost all that ground. But I think they got shuffled because they were going around a lap car.
There's a pretty aggressive side draft too by the 20.
Ooh, Brad Smith in the 48 lapped car.
Yeah, obviously that throws off your focus. He's focusing on keeping the 20 with him, and then he loses track of where the 35 is behind in his mirror, and just gets a little slow in the block. And no harm, no foul, didn't cause a wreck, and able to probably learn from it and make sure to check the mirror. He knows what clear is and clear isn't in his mirror now.
And Greg Van Alst was against the yellow line. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't run into Parker Chase. Parker Chase wasn't quite clear and came down the racetrack, made contact with Greg Van Alst. And that's one thing I was noticing earlier. We talk about the yellow line being your friend. A lot of cars I've seen, or some cars I've seen, will drift off that yellow line, maybe coming off the corner a half, 3/4 of a car width. You get that guy behind you, especially late in the race, and they're going to try to stick that car in that hole there, and that's why we see a lot of incidents, because those guys will leave just enough room to give that guy behind them a thought about moving to the inside.
Well, we talked about Toni Breidinger. She's now fallen back just a little bit to 16th. What are they saying, Kate?
Well, she's had a lot of consistency in her world, or at least she feels like it. She said this is the first time in motorsports that she feels like she's had the same routine and consistency. On the radio, they're telling her, are you wide open? And she said, I'm wide open. He said, you got to be honest with me. Are you wide open going through the corners? And she said, yes, I am wide open. Earlier, we were talking about Tyler Munn and how he can be aggressive on the radio. And she said, man, nothing's going to make me cry. You can yell at me. And I told them I want them to be as real as they can be, as I'm trying to offer that real feedback as well.
So checking in with their driver, what do you think of what they were telling her?
Well, I think something what Tony said there that I can certainly respect is the fact that working with the same group of people on a consistent basis plays a big role, especially younger in your career, being able to trust people and know that people trust the feedback that you're giving. So the fact that she has that at this level and recognizes that, I think is certainly important.
And that conversation stems back to Daytona. They were talking to her. She was saying that she was wide open, but with the S&T data, they were looking, she actually wasn't completely wide open all the time. So that's where that conversation originated.
And some of it can just be a miscommunication, where like you obviously do have to lift in the pack and being able to get runs. So, going back and to be able to discuss that with the team and then show back up the next time when, they're asking and she's telling, and okay, we're all on the same page and we can all move forward and make adjustments to the car accordingly.
You saw the 55 of Gus Dean there. Started back a little bit, 22nd. He's made a nice recovery here as he's up into the 6th position. Nice to see Gus back in the ARCA Menards series.
Yeah, former winner here at this racetrack at Talladega, driving one of the 4 Venturini cars. We know he's going to be a contender.
Won this race back in 2016. Ran here part-time for a couple years, went truck racing. Now he's come back.
I was talking to his dad down in the garage area. He said, man, it's all about having fun. They know they come here with a Venturini car. They ran Daytona, come here. They know they have a shot to win. He said that's what they're looking at right now. May run a few more races with the Venturinis, but you get good equipment like that, and then your options open up a little bit.
You know, it's interesting. I learned about the Venturini cars yesterday. All 4 of them are all race-winning cars because they run the same car year after year. So they've all got great history. That's a good thing to have.
Yeah, and the car that the backup car that Tony's driving is also a Speedway car. That car was moved out of the rotation when they built a brand new car for Corey Heim for Daytona this year. Obviously went to Victory Lane, so they know what they're doing there at Venturinis, and they have really good equipment.
And by the way, that's the car that Corey Heim is in today, in the number 20, running 4th currently.
It's a pretty good selling point, putting people in race-winning cars, all 4 of them. Pretty good.
Sign me up, right?
Yeah, we're in sight now of the competition caution within another 3 laps or so.
So a reminder, the competition caution in the ARCA Menards series, non-competitive for modified pit stops, as you could say. They come down, they shut them off, they take their time, they can add fuel, change tires, but not simultaneously. They can adjust on them as well. But nothing to be gained track position-wise on pit road.
And it's a cost savings device. You don't have to have a high-dollar pit crew. I mean, Austin will have an incredible pit crew. All athletes tomorrow pitting his car. They don't have to have that here in this series, and I think it's a great move. Just keeps the budget down a little bit.
Hey, just last week at Bristol, you guys did this. The Cup Series. All the pit crews got to stay home with the families, and it was modified stops. So you watch the mechanics go over the wall, and they're pulling the tear-offs, and they're making adjustments in slow motion, almost.
With the hot dog break, you still get an opportunity, and I see this. If I'm a driver, a spotter, or a crew chief in this field, I know that there's going to be a caution at some point, and we're in a single file line. When do I make my run to position myself when that caution comes out? You know, if I'm Corey Heim, I'm thinking about who's going to help me. You got Gustine behind him, and obviously Parker Chase is further back there. So can I back up and get a run to be able to get 1 or 2 spots on these guys, because they've already shown to you that they're not willing to stay behind you. So you've got to, like I said before, work twice as hard to be able to get that done. So I'll be interested to see if anybody's brave enough to pull it out of line and try and get a few spots before this caution comes out.
And their spotters will get together and have conversations. So when Corey Heim pulls out a line, he knows that Gustine's going to pull out a line and go with him, or somebody else may.
And those things are always really good plans to make, but then you got a guy like Drew Dollar who obviously made the move to get the lead of this race with the help of Nick Sanchez, and those guys have obviously taken off. So I don't think they're comfortable right now, because they know that they got guys that are behind them that obviously want that lead.
38 laps to go here at Talladega Superspeedway. This has been a really competitive race for the ARCA Menards series. When you look at the last 15, it's been won by a different driver each year. And there it is, our competition caution. Yellow flag is in the air. We'll see who decides maybe to stay out and who decides to pit as they get ready on pit road. We'll step aside. ARCA Racing on FS1 is brought to you by General Tire, #GT Delivers. By Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Reese's, not sorry. By Sprecher, Fire Brewed Craft Soda, the official craft soda of ARCA. And by Menards, save big money at Menards. And pit stop's underway. Let's check in with Kate first.
And looking over here at Drew Dollar, the team is doing 4 tires and fuel. Mark McFarland was telling me that they keep reminding Drew to be patient, but that they really enjoy working with Nick Sanchez. And honestly, they're really hoping the number 23 of Brett Holmes makes his way up there as well. You can also see that they're doing a little bit of work there at the front of the car, and they are trying to diagnose what's going on with that as well. Next up was Corey Heim. That car is feeling good. They're asking him to keep it cool, and it was 4 tires and fuel. And as Shannon Rush said, it's business per usual for Corey Heim. Josh?
Well, Rajah Caruth in the 6 has been happy with his car so far. No tires here, gas only on the stop. He said they also pulled off some tape on the front of that car. As far as his teammate, Nick Sanchez, he's been having issues holding the bottom lines on the turns. They're asking, what does it feel like? Does it feel like it's tight, it's loose? He said it feels like that back end is just starting to wander out on him. Otherwise, he's been riding well. He got some tires and a tear off as well when he came into pit.
All right, so minimal changes to these race cars. Some fuel, tires, a little tape on the grill. We'll get back to green. This is the General Tire 200.
Today on FS1, it's time for Tim Anderson and the White Sox. It's time for Carlos Correa and the Twins. Because this is my home. Coverage begins today at 3 Eastern on FS1.
As we continue under our competition caution, let's take a look at the Richmond Water Heaters mid-race recap. First off, Amber Balkan had issues firing that car early on, but she got it going, been running top 15 ever since.
We got the 0-1 of Tim Monroe. Obviously, he had a right rear tire go down. They are out of the race. Seemed like they had some more issues.
Sean Core had some ignition trouble in practice yesterday. Obviously did not fix that. He is now behind the wall, out of the race.
And the 0 of AJ Moyer, they got stacked up here, goes for his spin. He has taken it to the garage.
Drew Dollar, Nick Sanchez, and Raja Caruth have put themselves in the lead in great position for a good run to the end.
Yeah, Drew Dollar's led 32 laps to this point. Kate.
Comfortable place for Drew Dollars out in front, but talking about their pit stop there, the front of that was just a little extra tape. They said the temps were much cooler than they were actually expecting them to be, and so just trying to get this thing race ready here towards the end.
Thank you, Kate. Drew Dollar will once again have control of this restart. The 2 of Nick Sanchez on the inside. A lot of rookies in the field. Let's dive into today's Rookie Spotlight, brought to you by Bounty. Greg Van Alst, 40-year-old rookie, but he's running full-time. That's the intention this year.
As you can see, our point leader, Daniel Dye, also leads the points in the Bounty Rookie Challenge. Raja Caruth having a great start to this season as well in second.
Parker Chase there in third, and Tony Breidinger. We've talked about her quite a bit today, coming from the back of the field in fourth. Taylor Gray, who went to Victory Lane in Phoenix, not old enough to run all these races, so not here today. But Parker Chase stands out to me. We talked about him in the 15. He has a similar background as where you came from, Austin. He runs, you know, road course ace is what we called him. Now he's just trying to learn the ovals and kind of cutting his chops in the Truck Series a little bit last year and ARCA Menards this year.
Yeah, no, I've gotten to know Parker for quite a while, him and his family, and yeah, like you said, he and I probably have a more similar background than most people. Even some of the rallycross stuff that he did back in the day at the end of that series, and got to work with him a little bit there. And obviously, it's been fun to watch what he's been able to do and what he's been trying to learn. You know, racing stock cars now for the first time, so I can totally relate to that. You know, I think he's only done a few late model starts before he came into ARCA, and obviously he's doing a great job today. I thought he was doing a great job being the pusher, and obviously got shuffled out there a little bit, and so he's got his work cut out for him to get back to the front. But I think if he does, I think you'll be able to see how fast that car is.
We caught a glimpse of a 2038 Bounty Rookie Challenger eating that slushy. That looked pretty good down there, and it's hot today.
It is beautiful, though. Just a few clouds out there.
Enough to get a sunburn.
Yes, and there are
a lot of sunburns down there.
A lot of people in the infield out on Talladega Boulevard last night. It was for our show tomorrow. Wasn't just me hanging out.
Good work. Yeah. Tough duty.
Talladega's infield is unlike any place you've ever been. It's about 250 acres just on the infield, and all the campers. I mean, it is a scene. It's a giant party.
Well, Bob Pockris didn't look like he was on the clock last night.
Pockris was out in the infield. That is to come in our pre-race tomorrow. Daniel Dye, our rookie points leader.
He's been pretty quiet today. I thought he did a really good job at Daytona, working the side draft, being able to put himself in position. So he's in the top 5. I think he's a role to play for this lineup here, and see what he can do.
Right now, the oldest driver in the top 5 is 21 years old.
Well, there you have it. All the young drivers pushing it on the Cup Series side, too. Let's check in with Kate.
Well, Austin, you were just talking about Daniel Dye and what he learned, especially at Daytona. He learned how important that brake pedal is and how to build those runs. Another note about him is he's an avid bowler. And Jamie, I know you had a nice conversation with him about the bowling of Daniel Dye.
You a bowler?
I don't know what bowling has to do with driving race cars. Maybe some short track stuff, but that's about it.
Hey, there's a little hand-eye coordination necessary there, right?
Maybe the big one.
He had 7 strikes in a row in a game a couple of weeks ago.
Better than I can do.
Yes.
Go to green. Corey Heim is ready for that teammate restart. He's pushing Drew Dollar, trying to get him out as far as he can to suck his help forward.
Drew Dollar with a nice push out there, drops to the bottom right in front of Sanchez. They've been the partners from the beginning, and they've got the 6. Raja Caruth coming through, and just Raja's second Superspeedway race.
We got Gus Deem and Corey Heim finally linked up. 2 Venturini cars again. Obviously, the 3 cars out in the lead, Drew Dollar, Nick Sanchez, and Roger Caruth. Those guys have been working really well together, so I think that's 2 pods of cars that have been working well together.
And there's the 43. He caught a glimpse of his onboard. Daniel Dye now up in the 4th spot in a good position.
And Nick Sanchez in the 2, I was talking to him this morning, and he's been talking to you, Austin, and I said, why did you choose Austin Cindric of all people to talk to? And he said this: I think he is one of the most complete drivers out there. He doesn't make mistakes, he works hard and does his homework, and his feedback to me is invaluable. What do you think of Nick Sanchez?
Well, that's pretty cool to hear. I mean, especially from a younger driver. But no, I've been really impressed with Nick, and he's got some opportunities, and I think it's been fun to see what he's been able to do with him. And the questions he asks, you know, I think anytime as a driver, like I'm used to asking questions, and so when I've got somebody approaching me, okay, what to focus on, whatever, and he's got his questions lined up, he knows what he wants to focus on, and I think that's important because that means he's thinking about it, and that's half the battle, I think, with the prep work, is understanding, you know, what's going to be important. So I enjoy watching Nick. I enjoy that process, and anytime he asks for help, it's cool to see what he's thinking, because I think it helps me as well, just to go through the motions and understand, you know, what's important, what's prioritized. So he's obviously done a great job.
Well, you're doing good as an instructor, because he's holding a pretty wheel up there, running second. Today's lap leader brought to you by Sprecher. That, of course, is the 18 of Drew Dollar, led 36 laps as we work lap number 47. 76 laps will complete this race.
These guys right now know that they need to think about positioning on the racetrack, because we're past the halftime break, the competition caution. There may not be any more caution flags. You would think there would be, but these guys know they don't want to fall too far back. Certainly don't want to lose this draft in the event we don't have any more caution flags.
Yeah, you're certainly getting to the point where that track position is going to matter for those final restarts, or even positioning, like you said, at the end of the race. So if I'm Corey Heim, I've got to start working that side draft like he's been doing all race to get that outside lane forward. I think he's got some decent cars behind him to continue to do it. I think that's Brett Holmes right behind there too. So that's 3 really fast cars in the outside lane. So they should be able to make something happen. It looks like they got the 73 car shucked. Oh, he got back in.
You see the 35 Greg Van Alst running 6th on the inside line. Kate Yamore?
Yeah, Greg Van Alst keeps moving kind of in this midway point. He just tries to line up with his teammates, as he's calling him here this weekend, and that's Daniel Dye, that's Brett Holmes, and right now the team is reminding him to stay patient. Again, that is a key word here this weekend. For him, he says Talladega suits him as a driver because it's a thinking man's race here. His keys are: be a wise decision maker, be solid under pressure, and plan without panicking. How do you guys feel those are keys to success here at Talladega?
I think plans only last so long, so you have to be adaptable. But you know, I think that's a pretty stoic way of thinking.
So Brett Holmes, remember Brett Holmes came in prior to the competition caution. Didn't really, just lost a little track position, didn't really gain anything because he came in during the competition caution. Again, I think he was looking maybe for another caution prior to the competition caution, where maybe he could have come down pit road. We would have seen a lot of guys come down pit road during a caution about 10 laps before the competition caution, but it didn't happen. So again, you can have a plan, and if it doesn't cooperate, then it's out the window.
Yeah, obviously the cream rises to the top. He's out here influencing the lane. I think if you're in the first 3 rows of a certain lane, you can influence the end of the race. You can influence the energy in the pack. So I think Brett Holmes is still in a decent shot to have a good day, but I think they've got to be able to keep working that side draft, drag that bottom lane back and that outside lane forward.
I love that word, energy. And speaking of, we got a big crash on the front stretch. A few cars around, and another one gets hit. Looks like the 10 of Richard Garvey.
Still wrecking.
69. Scott Melton involved.
Tony Breidinger.
Tony Breidinger comes to a stop in the infield. Eric Caudell destroyed race cars.
Yeah, Tim Richmond is on pit road. He was involved as well.
See what happened. Where did it go wrong?
See Tony's the white car on the inside who she got run into from behind. Very similar to what we saw in practice yesterday. I believe that was the 10 car, Richard Garvey, that ran in the back of Tony.
And obviously really hard hit there on the 7 car and the 69. But yeah, from that angle, it definitely looked like just a really bad push, really poorly timed push gone wrong there, coming off of turn 4.
Very similar to what we saw yesterday. That little tap from behind, she gets sideways.
Yeah, Brayton Laster with the 0-3 with nowhere to go, and watch.
Oh my gosh. Great camera shot, but
wow.
man,
that's Richard Garvey riding up over.
Looks like
Lester's.
a stadium truck.
Eric Caudell obviously involved in the 7. Some pretty hard hits there. He hit pretty hard at 180 or 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, no kidding. And then this is the worst case scenario. You got the 7 car coming back up on the racetrack and gets T-boned. So
let's ride on board the 03 of Brayton Laster.
This is the
See
pizza
right
man.
There.
This is the butt kicker on board.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Well, it happens so fast, doesn't it?
Kicking the pants, all right.
Brayton Laster just making his second ARCA Menards series start. Look at that breathing right there, taking it all in.
Like Phil said, that happens so fast. I mean, you're going 180 miles an hour 1 second, and a second later you're crashed out of the race.
Around. Yeah.
Here's a kid who races in Indianapolis, like a
dirt tracks,
quarter
figure
mile.
8.
Yeah, figure 8
Yep.
racing.
Ending up a speedrome.
This is a whole new world here, and I'm sure that had to have been one of the hardest hits of his career. Let's look once again.
Yeah, he had nowhere to go there, obviously,
Wow.
not being able to really react to that car getting spun behind him. So just an innocent bystander. So that's unfortunate for Brayton there, and kind of lost that opportunity. So definitely feel for that.
We'll go on board again with Laster. That was unbelievable by the 10. All 4 wheels off the ground. Brayton Laster,
waving at the crowd.
He's a fun kid. You obviously talked to him down in the garage area, talking about got straight A's in high school, going to college. But he said the college didn't really understand him missing time to go racing, so he transferred to a different school.
Can relate to that. Well, that's great that he's got a good attitude about it. It's obviously a tough situation being able to get out of the car. Obviously, you see Eric Caudell there, a little slow to get out of the race car, and medical team working with him there to get him to the infield care center and checked out.
Thank goodness for the safety measures on these cars from what it used to be years ago. But the head and neck restraints systems, obviously, the seat containments. It's amazing what the safety innovations that have happened in the last 20 or 30 years.
And great job by our AMR safety crew as well. Let's see just how hard this impact was. Wow.
Lifted the back end up off the ground.
All I can say is thankful that was the passenger side.
Yeah, there's a lot more foam in that right side door, so being able to hit there, obviously not great with the stopped cars. So looks like we had a slow-mo of the 03 onboard there. I mean, even in slow motion, I mean, ramping right off the right front. Can't do anything about that, but pretty crazy that the 10 car got in the air, but it came right back down. You know, that's how the safety devices are supposed to work. So obviously good. Nobody got on the roof there and tumbled a bit, but pretty crazy shots.
You guys make it look so easy, but in reality, I mean, these guys are going 185 miles an hour, and that was at full throttle right there where they hit. And you see it here, just trying to watch him maneuver his way through.
People always ask, what does it feel like to go 190 or 200 miles an hour? Austin, I'm sure you get asked the same question. And it's all relative. When everyone around you is doing the same thing, it's not that big a deal. But when you get in trouble like that, then you really realize how fast you are. And it takes forever to get these things stopped.
Yeah,
from
you
those speeds.
You don't learn how fast you're going until it stops, and that's the biggest, especially these tracks. You're never going to have any bigger wrecks than what you have at Daytona and Talladega, and feel those forces and going that fast as close to those other guys. It's obviously Eric was pretty shaken there. Good to see him walk on his power to get to the ambulance.
Eric Caudell that we just saw, 55 years old. Glad to see him get out and walk away. 7 cars involved, the biggest accident here at Talladega in the ARCA Menards Series since 2013. We'll clean it up, and we'll be back in moments. Leach General Tires sponsors the Superspeedway Challenge, comprised of 7 Superspeedway races. We'll crown the team with the highest total points. We started in Daytona, obviously continuing here today at Talladega. Stay tuned to our FS1 coverage throughout the ARCA Menards series the rest of the season. See which team will come out on top. Phil, this is really neat. It's like a championship within a championship.
It is, and as you mentioned, team. So you don't have to have the same driver. Obviously, for the driver point championship, you have to have the same driver. But for this award by General Tire, you do not have to have the same driver. You can have multiple drivers, and you accumulate points in those 7 super speedway races.
Well, as you can see, we are under a red flag for the big one here at Talladega as they continue working on the 69 of Scott Melton.
Hard hit there right into the side of the 7 of Eric Caudell. Scott Melton's the 69.
Pretty hard frontal impact. They're still working on getting him out of his race car. And
as you can see, he will take the window net down himself. You can see his hand taking the window net down, but the ARCA officials and the AMR team there's Scott right there. You can see him up and moving around. They've cut the roof off to make it easier to extract him out of the car. Scott's a great guy racing with the Kimmels. There's the roof of the car, and again, they have the jaws of life. Just totally a precaution, just to make it easier for Scott to get out of that car in case he has some sort of injury with extremities.
They wasted
don't want to
no
speculate.
time. Yeah, no time getting that off. Well done by that crew.
Yeah, but obviously conscious there. You can see Scott moving around, talking. AMR safety team right there on it.
It seemed like he took his helmet off by himself. So obviously take a lot of precautions, and they have the necessary people to do it all at the care center, being able to get him checked out.
And Josh is caught up with one of those involved in this wreck.
Yeah, Tony Breininger checked and released from the care center. I know a tough day for you. Had to battle your way from the back of the field into the top 10. Other than the incident, how would you assess your day?
I mean, the guys did a great job putting together the backup car and making it fast. And my spotter, Tyler, he did a great job guiding me up through the top 10. So up until that point, it was pretty solid. I think I could have did a better job on my part to kind of hold myself there and hopefully would have stayed out of this incident.
And what happened from your point of view?
I think we just got hooked in the tri-oval. I mean, it's kind of sketchy there anyways, and I think we all kind of got stacked up a little bit. Just kind of part of it, just wrong spot and wrong time.
Well, glad you're okay.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, glad to see she is okay.
Yeah, she's exactly right. She just got hooked, by the 10 car of Richard Garvey. And again, they get stacked up, and that's where you have to modulate the throttle. I mean, there's times when you have to hit you're running wide open around here, but there's times you have to hit the brake because of what may happen in front of you. Just got a little bit of a nudge, turned her sideways, and then it was on from there.
He can't help but feel bad for him. I mean, that's obviously the second wreck involved this weekend, and she's not up too high. She's not moving too much. She clearly just drove straight through the right rear and wrecked, and she obviously had a pretty good attitude there, like thinking, oh, I wish I was running better so I wouldn't be back there. I've had those days, and that's the only thing you can say. That's pretty tough. So definitely feel for her, and hopefully she has better luck next time.
I know they had high expectations for her. She had a great run in Daytona, finished 9th. She was 12th here a year ago. And it's just been one of those weekends for her. Obviously jumped right back in, got in that backup car today, and worked her way forward, fell back, and then we saw the accident. So she's out for today.
And neither one of those situations yesterday in practice or today were her fault. It was just she was just a victim of circumstances, and she'll bounce back next time out.
Nice crowd here at Talladega Superspeedway. You saw them applauding as they saw Scott Melton as they load him into the ambulance. Thumbs up. That's a great sign.
Absolutely.
And the crowd saw the thumbs up, happy what they saw. So all drivers now have been tended to.
Good shot of the head containment system. You see it around there. Huge headrest. Great seats now that you guys are able to utilize, whether it be aluminum or carbon fiber.
Well, we have 26 laps to go as we continue under a red flag here for the General Tire 200 at Talladega Superspeedway.
Kevin Burkhardt here with the D-Train, Dontrell Willis, EK, Eric Carroll's taking up some baseball coming your way between the Twins and the White Sox, plus baseball history. We'll tell you what that's all about. We'll see after the race. Right now, back to Jamie Little.
Thank Thanks, guys. Well, tomorrow at 9 a.m., head over to the ARCA Menards Series Twitter page. It's at ARCA_racing to vote on what moment you think was today's sweet move of the race presented by Reese's. I think we have a few good ones already. And this is race number 3 of a 20-race schedule for the ARCA Menards Series. Let's see what races are coming up. And the ones in yellow, obviously, FS1 races. We'll see you next May 14th at Kansas Speedway. And a big weekend, Memorial Day weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 27th. Some really good racetracks coming up. It's a 1.5 miles, short tracks.
Dirt tracks.
Dirt tracks, got a little bit of everything in the ARCA Menards Series. And hey, speaking of, Drew Dollar in the 18. He has led 40 laps today, more than any other race in his career. Let's dial him up, Austin.
Hey, Drew Dollar, it's Austin Cindric with Jamie Little and Phil Parsons in the FS1 booth. You got a copy?
Sir, what's up, guys?
Oh, just looking at the race leader right now, trying to think what's going through your head, trying to figure out what the end of the race is going to be like. Saw a great move with you and Nick Sanchez breaking the single file draft and taking the lead and holding it. I want to know, is that friendship going to last all race, or are we racing for the win here at the end?
Yeah, I wish the friendship would last all race, and hopefully it does, you know, for the last 2 or 3 laps or whatever, 1 lap or so. But yeah, I expect it's going to get a little tougher at the end, but hopefully we keep working together all right. I got a good group of guys behind me who we've talked before the race, so hopefully we stick together to get to the end, and if we do that, one of us is going to come out winning this thing.
Awesome. Well, the car looks fast. Keep making the right moves. Best of luck.
Great. Thank you, guys.
And another look here, why we're under the red flag. The number 10, all 4 wheels come off the ground. That's Richard Garvey. And the good news is he's okay, and he's standing by with our Josh.
Yeah, Richard Garvey checked and released from the infield care center. Finally had a chance to rewatch that wreck. What happened from your perspective?
It didn't show the whole wreck. You know, I think the 25 was lifting for about 2 laps. We were on the radio saying, she keeps lifting, she keeps lifting. It looked like she tried to get to the top. She goes round. I think we got some help from behind, and then we're a passenger from that point. But I think we should get a 10 out of 10 for the aerobatics there. And I just feel really bad for Rougier, our sponsor. Here we go. So yeah, she lifted, and yeah, we've gone into the back. It just sucks for everybody, but RougierFast.com, first race on the car. Vic, Rachel, all the guys out here with the sponsor this weekend. Andy Hillenberg, Mike Shreve, Dick Dehaney putting together a great car. The car was terrible all day. We just, you know, I was saying before, we didn't have a push. We couldn't do anything. We were dropping back like a stone. You know, we'll come back next year, try again.
All right, Richard, glad you're okay.
Thanks, Josh. I don't know, would you give it a 10? 9?
I mean, I think it's great for airtime. That's going to be hard to beat.
It's got to be a 9.5 anyway.
I mean, it is the 10 car.
All right, we're just getting word there is a driver change. Sean Core now going into the 9. So Thomas Prater is out. Interesting turn of events here.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate what may be going on with Thomas Prater. Used to be full-time competitor here in the ARCA series, but only runs part-time now as we see the cars have been moving again.
So driver change. Assume he'll drop to the rear for the restart once we get going again.
I mean, that looks like it's still in the garage area, too.
There's Max Gutierrez. This is the Reese's on board. Max has really done a nice job today running up in the top 10. As I mentioned earlier, he's a former winner in the ARCA Menards East Series. And trying to get his feet wet here on some super speedways. He's run 6 times in the ARCA Menards Series. But doing a super job here. Mark Redd also involved with this. Wintron Racing, Kevin Sawinski calling the shots here for Max Gutierrez, and he's in contention. He's got a shot.
Yeah, Max has been solid all day, and sometimes that's all it takes to like you said before, have a shot, be in contention, you know, be influence in a lane and be able to take a run when you got it. So he's been doing a great job in being quiet, and is still a contender.
And we talked about the ARCA Menards series and what it does for drivers, being a development series. Max Gutierrez is going to make his truck series debut coming up in May in Charlotte. So he's got 4 on the schedule. It's great news for him. He also races the NASCAR Mexico series. So listen to this. He goes to school in person in Mexico City during the week. jumps on a plane, comes back to the United States, races in the ARCA Menards series, then goes back. And I literally have done an interview on Zoom with him at school. It's incredible what this young man is putting into his craft.
I love the fact that these kids stay in school, too. I love the fact we were talking about the pizza man earlier, Brayton, and the fact that he's still going to college while he's trying to pursue his dreams of racing.
Daniel Suarez is somebody that he leans on, gives him advice. They talk every weekend. I see Max come over to the Cup Garage just to kind of watch and learn and listen.
He's a good one to learn from, Daniel Suarez, doing a really nice job over at Trackhouse.
And I tell you what, that's going to make a difference, being able to have someone that speaks your native language and being able to relate well, because I'm sure that's hard to find in this sport, especially, you know, NASCAR Mexico Series doesn't have a super speedway race like Talladega, so he's not going to lean on anyone down there. And there's few people in the garage, and they continue to grow as we get more and more guys like Max, like Daniel coming in here and making a career for themselves.
Well, the red flag has been lifted. We are under caution now for the 5th time today. Let's get an update with Kate.
Mark McFarland, the crew chief on Drew Dollars, number 18, said they're getting a chance to think about the end of the race. The goal is to block the outside lane. He says the number 2 of Nick Sanchez is on board with them, and their teammate is right behind him to block it as well. Meanwhile, the number 20 crew chief, Shannon Rush, is saying, man, it is hard to work that outside lane, especially since they are single file. He thinks that if we can get 10 laps green, we can get to the front there. They just need the 55 and the 23. But that 23 is way back when with Brett Holmes, and Shane Huffman saying, hey, we got a car that's plenty fast, but we need to get some cars behind us to get us to the front. Brett's not panicking, though, so we know we are good. It was funny also talking to Brett earlier. He said, I don't want to politic this weekend. I don't want any of that, so I'm not going to reach out to anybody. But going up along in the pits here, everyone's saying Brett Holmes is the guy we want to partner with.
I love all the planning, all the strategy. Everybody is my friend unless you're with Venturini Motorsports, basically is what they're saying.
Well, it's funny because in some ways I almost feel like we're villainizing Venturini, but it's because they're good.
Yes.
And in all these other teams, it's absolutely respect. All these other teams are trying to get together. It's like, let's get 8 or 9 of us together to beat, you know, 2 or 3 other cars.
Yeah. Because they know they're not good enough to do it alone. You know, this is a powerhouse team they're trying to stop, and they're really good. Venturini Motorsports is really good at organizing. Granted, they just lost one of their cars, but they're really good at organizing to be there when it counts.
And they're really separated right now, too. I mean, you've got Corey Heim in P5, and that's it until Parker Chase, or I guess in Gustine as well. So they're a bit separated. So being able to work that out is probably going to be a non-option here for a little while until they can get linked up. So I think it's going to be really important for Corey to find some open space and be able to work a lane like he was doing before this caution came out.
You know, we were talking about Max Gutierrez a few minutes ago, and Frank Kimmel, our 10-time ARCA champion, just texted me and said his son Frankie Kimmel is spotting for Max Gutierrez. Absolutely. Normally we're talking about Daniel Suarez, spots for Daniel Suarez on Sundays, so they're doing a nice job.
Yeah, I guess he's probably used to language barrier, isn't he?
Look at all of our spotters up there, right above where we are, by the way. All wearing shorts. It's been a cold kickoff to the year. I feel like almost every race we've had, it has been cold. Turtlenecks and jackets. So they're very thankful right now to be soaking up the sun here in beautiful Talladega, Alabama.
Yeah, last 2 weeks in Bristol and in Martinsville, it was cold. So it's yeah, those guys are feeling good up there. Got the breeze. Probably just getting a little sunburn going right now.
So the number 9 says Moose, but it's not. It is Sean Corr, who started in the 8th, had issue in the number 8, had issues earlier, went to the garage, and now they've done a driver swap. Very interesting here. Well, Drew Dollars had one of those days. He's only in this series basically to get wins and fill in where he can.
He's doing double duty. He's got another 300 miles to run here this afternoon.
Just getting warmed up.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's plenty warm down there in those cars.
Right now he's scheduled for a handful more in the 18, filling in for Sammy Smith, who, by the way, is another up-and-coming driver, but not old enough to run these super speedways and some other tracks. So basically Drew Dollars here for wins, and that's all that matters. And you see Tim Richmond in the 27 getting pushed back to the garage, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, tough break. Tim had such a good run at Daytona. Didn't get the finish he deserved, and was doing a great job here as well, and got caught up in the big one.
So many of these teams, and this garage. It's like there's one employee and the rest are their friends, and they build these cars and they put so much time and effort. And some of them have just the one car, so it hurts a little bit more when you see them wreck or have an issue like that where they can't even finish the race.
And you remember the story with Tim Richmond. He got involved in a wreck with one of David Gilliland's cars last year at Michigan, and David and them gave them this car, this very car right here, and they went to Daytona running up front again. Had trouble at the end, ran out of fuel, but running good again today. But that was due to the kindness of David Gilliland and his race team, because they knew he only had one car, and they gave him that car.
I think we all love hearing stories about that, because the ARCA Menards series is totally where grassroots racing meets professional high-level stock car racing, and it's that transition for the teams too, not just the drivers. Obviously it is for the drivers, but the teams, and hearing about putting together Tony's car after practice last night, and the people from other teams working together, being able to help one another out, because that's what we're all here to do. We travel all across the country to do these races and do something pretty fun, and it's obviously a pretty tight-knit community.
My brother in 1973 won the championship, but he got wrecked on the 13th lap of a 500-mile race at Rockingham, and they were able to repair that car. But there were people from, as you mentioned, a half a dozen different teams there repairing that car, and he got back on the racetrack and won the championship.
It's all about.
All right, it's been a little bit of a delay, but we are ready to get back to racing. Nick Sanchez, Drew Dollar on the outside, Raja Caruth, Daniel Dye.
I'm going to say it's safe to assume we're still friends here. Still suits the narrative.
At least for 20 more laps anyway.
Friends to the end, that's what they hope for. Green flag is in the air.
Tell you what, Daniel Dye, it's the first time he's kind of sniffed the front of his field. I think he's going to get a chance to lead the outside lane here after, yep, there we go. Drew Dollar pulls down, and see how fast that 43 car is here.
I know they wanted to work with that 35 with Greg Van Alst. That's what Daniel told me yesterday. He's right behind him right now.
It's really best case scenario for Daniel. So that and the 18 and the 2 car are a little too far out in front. So Daniel's going to have a nice run here coming into turn 3.
Max Gutierrez, the 3rd car in line on the outside. Andy J, the 4th car, the Wheeland car on the outside line as well.
Look at the 18 of Drew Dollar, the first time ever that KBM Kyle Busch Motorsports has fielded a car in the series. Kyle Busch, of course, won at this level 3 times doing KBM things.
He's won about every level, I think, a lot of times, hasn't he?
So is the guy to my left, or
right.
my right and your left. Austin Cindric has won in this series, the Truck Series, Xfinity Series champion, Daytona 500 champion.
It all sounds great to me.
Want me to keep talking?
Keep going. Yeah, Daniel Dye, just like he was at Daytona, was working that side draft, and that's what he needs to do. He needs to work twice as hard, and even see Van Alst there getting the side draft and pulling back Corey Hyman. And obviously Corey wants to win this race, and we talked about him before the race started as somebody who can really upset the field here, and he's trapped. He's trapped on the bottom, can't go anywhere. He's got his teammate with him, but he's trapped. So the outside lane's got to keep pushing forward and trying to get those side drafts done, because that's what it's going to take.
You see the 6th of Raja moving up off the corner. Maybe his car won't allow him to stay on the yellow line, but he needs to stay on the yellow line. If he moves up for an instant and Corey Haim feels like he can grab that spot on the inside, he's going to do it, and that'll put Raja to the middle of that line here, and then he probably will go backwards.
James here, just keep focused. Keep focused. Square up with the 43.
I think that's Greg Van Alst's spotter. Say square up with the 43, get right in his tire tracks.
36, Ryan Huff is having a pretty decent day, but he has a violation on the restart, changed lanes before the restart line.
Some people we haven't talked a lot about. Thad Moffitt, the 44, Amber Balkin in the 30. Right here in this lead draft, Jason, the 97 of Jason Kitzmiller also. We haven't talked a lot about them, but they're in position here with about 20 laps to go.
Yeah, obviously these guys are tailing the lead lap, but they're able to continue to stay in the pack and still have a shot.
Amber Balkin doing a nice job running top 15, Kate.
She's really pushing it out there today, and in fact she's wanting to learn, but she was actually really grateful for that yellow. She came on the radio and said, guys, thank you for this. I was actually fixing my headphones during that time and I couldn't get the adjustment made, but now I can. The team was also really focused on turning her car off as it had been having heating issues throughout the whole day, so she's really working with a handful there.
Battle right now for the lead. Drew Dollar on the inside, the outside, Raja Caruth in the 6th.
Good push from the 43 of Daniel Dye. Greg Van Alsten, 35 also.
He pulled out line. He wants to lead this thing, man.
It looks like a pace lap.
You saw business is picking up too. The pushes are getting more. The cars are wandering a lot more. Urgency's picking up. We're under 20 laps to go. And everyone's trying to get settled here, trying to figure out who's going to be the leader and who's going to be pushing and trying to set up the runs.
Corey Heim, you see him third row on the inside the 20. He's got a teammate behind him, Gustine, but they have to have somewhere to go.
With the 6 pulling out of line, that really helped Corey Heim's case as far as moving the way forward. Difference between third row and fourth row can be quite a lot when you're playing the game of inches, for sure.
Watching it and seeing how much movement are in those two lines makes me nervous. What's it like when you're a driver in that? Oh, almost.
Tell you what, Daniel Dye's got a fast car, and I think he's really good at pushing behind because he was able to stay super close to the 6 car. So I look for him to not be wanting to stay behind. I think that was a product of that. The 6 car pulled up in front of him and didn't want it. We got a caution for debris.
Caution for debris. Raja Caruth in the 6. You see it here.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, the 43 of Daniel Dye locked on to the 6. Raja did a great job saving that car.
Oh, man wants the lead. I love it.
Let's look from the 43 on board. Daniel Dye. Tap, tap.
Lock on.
Nope.
Well, he gave him a courtesy lift. That was a 20 to go lift. That's not a lift with 5 to go.
If he doesn't lift, he may have turned around.
Absolutely.
Raja Caruth.
Oh, it's a long day for Sean Corr.
This is his second opportunity, Sean Corr. I was just looking and saw him running 15th, so he's got the damage. Josh, this is an interesting story. One driver, 2 different cars in one race. What's going on there?
Yeah, you don't see this every day, but Thomas Prater was feeling sick with flu-like symptoms, so he had to get out of the car and go to the care center to get fluids. And when the red flag came out, the team said it'd be dumb not to make the switch because, you know, Sean Corr was already out of the race with those ignition issues with his car, so they made the switch, and unfortunately now damage to the 9 car, so he's on pit road. So got to be a whirlwind of emotions for Sean Corr and Thomas Prater for that matter today.
You got to be really sick to give up your ride in the middle of a race, right?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I never did. And in all my years racing, I never had a relief driver.
94 is the free pass.
First time Raja has ever led in an ARCA Menards race.
First time ever. And you know, somebody he really leans on, Raja really leans on Bubba Wallace. And guess who won the last race here in the Cup Series? Bubba Wallace. And he finished first here last year, second at Daytona in February. And these two have been talking. Somewhere Bubba's watching this excited.
Austin had a good look at Bubba finishing second.
Yes, he did.
In Daytona this year.
I was going to say how good of a play racer Bubba's turned into, but that too. He did he did need a few more inches there. But no, Bubba's become a really good plate racer, and he becomes to the front. Even before he was driving the 23 car, he would usually find himself at the front of these races, especially by the end. So having someone like that to lean on is super critical. And I think you saw some of that Bubba Wallace aggression there, wanting to go get that lead. I mean, Raja totally went and pulled up to the outside lane, had the run, and got a great push from Daniel to keep it. Now, my question is, did that mess up the bromance with the 18 and the 2 and the 6? You know, are we friends anymore? I don't know. I wouldn't be too happy with that because, you know, you kind of blew the wad there a little early.
Well, we know Raja and Daniel Dye are still friends. We're not sure if Drew Dollar's on the text chain anymore.
About to find out, though. We're going to find out in time.
Raja Caruth, it's been fun to watch, you know, as he's grown into this role. He was a fan at Richmond Raceway 4 years ago. He showed me a picture. We took a picture together. He was just a fan hanging out. Fast forward 3.5 years later, he's running not only in the ARCA Menards series, but part-time in the Xfinity series. I mean, sometimes if you have it, you just have it.
Yeah, he'll be running the Xfinity race at Dover next week. Will be his next attempt in the Xfinity Series. Did a great job earlier this year qualifying. It's really tough to make these Xfinity races right now, and he did a great job qualifying.
Well, we talked about there being moments in this race. Reese's sweet move of the race. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Yeah, the 20 of Corey Heim didn't have a whole lot of room to get by that lap car. 18 jumping out on the restart and jumping over in front of the two of Nick Sanchez to hold on to the lead.
Got a huge block here for first place. He wants it. Roger wants it. See how it pays off.
I believe that's my vote. That's my vote so far for sure.
I didn't know if we were allowed to say, but yes, I would say yes, this 6th.
Yeah.
This is my move of the race. Yeah, buddy. Lots of dogs in the infield, all over the place. I mean, these people set up camp out there, and they're there for 5-6 days. The kids are there, the dogs are there, but
it's a good day to be a dog.
That's right. So remember, vote on our Reese's Sweet Move of the Race. Go to their Twitter page. 9 a.m. Eastern, it'll open tomorrow. Artie Kepner is our director. He knows that I love dogs. I have 4 at home, so he always gets me shots.
And Artie loves to hear his name.
It's a win-win, Artie. Well, Daniel Dye in the 43 is sitting second right now. Kate, what are they saying?
Trying to sit extremely patiently. In fact, the team just told me that he needs to be a little bit more responsive with his spotter and not second guess as much. That car has a whole lot of speed. They just don't have too much help right now. So he knows what he's up against in this next restart.
He has one of the best spotters in the business. Derek Nealon spots for Daniel Dye. He knows what he's doing.
And I think that's a good lesson to learn with 15 laps to go is the decisiveness and, like I said, trusting that spotter. And Derek Nealon's obviously really talented. And I think on Sunday he and Tyler are going to be a threat to win the race. So I would say that having that trust, having that realization, okay, I really can lean on him. This was an opportunity that I missed out on because I wasn't reactive enough. I think that'll pay off for him.
And the Tyler you're talking about is Tyler Reddick. That's who Derek spots for on Sundays.
I feel like we hear that quite a bit when we come to these style of races because we have these guys who are inexperienced. They're not used to relying on a spotter quite to this extent, and they're having to be told and coached, rely on them. They know what they're doing. When they say go, go. All right, so we are being told now we will have 1 lap to go, and the next flag will end the race.
What that means is we can go to the end of the race if we don't get any more caution flags. There's enough time, but we have to have enough time to run the Xfinity race because darkness could play a role late in the Xfinity race. But if we go green, then we're going to go to the checker flag. We'll see the white flag, see the checker flag, and crown a winner. But if the caution were to come out, then the race will end then.
So 14 laps to go. Coming up next on FS1 is the Major League Baseball pregame show, followed by the Chicago White Sox versus Minnesota Twins game. That's all coming up on FS1. And then next on Fox, NASCAR Xfinity Series Race Day and Xfinity Series Racing presented by Credible. So if you want to continue with some racing after the ARCA Menards Series wraps up, go on over to Fox and you'll see it
green, if we get a caution,
all live for you.
That flag will end the race if it comes before lap 76.
Yeah, the competitors are being told that now. Same time we were told, so their spotters are relaying that to the drivers. There's Brad Parrott, a lot of experience. His dad, Buddy Parrott, so many wins and so many great moments in the Cup Series over the years. Brad doing a real nice job here at Rev Racing for Raja.
I think the big winner on this was Raja and Daniel Dye being able to get to the front row here on this restart. Looks like they're going to coordinate a teammate restart here and trying to get in front of each other. And we got Corey Heim. He'll be sneaking up there. See how this plays out. Next flag ends it.
Sense of urgency. You're exactly right, Austin. The next flag ends it. It could be 1 lap. It could be 14 laps.
Got to jump by the 6. Almost too fast. He's going to be too far away from his help. And I would say the smart thing would be to stay up in front of his teammate. And teammate says, no thanks. I want the lead. Corey Heim lines up in second now. I think the outside lane's going to have a little bit of energy all the way to the back straightaway.
Yeah, Corey has the team back behind him. Gus Dean, will they pull out and try to move by the 2 of Nick Sanchez?
Nick Sanchez out front, but Corey Heim, the one that they've all been trying to beat and keep behind them, is creeping.
Look how they're pushing.
Corey Heim going back. I don't even know if that was on purpose. I think that huge run from the 6 and the 43 got right back to the 20 and shoved him out to the outside lane.
I think they all heard the message from their crew chiefs and their spotters,
yes.
and now there's that sense of urgency. The next flag, if we get a caution, it will end the race. If it's the checkered flag, it will end the race.
Big save, big slide by Corey Heim. And the tough part here for Nick Sanchez, now we're in the lead. Now we got to figure out what it's going to take and keep those gaps. He got too far out in front, and Corey was able to take advantage with a really big push coming off the front bumper of his teammate.
Looks like Corey's going to stay up in front of his teammate, Gus Dean. Now he's going to move down to the inside because Gus Dean also had room to move down.
Go, bud, let's go.
That's what we talked about.
Right here. You two are out front of
the very top of the show, we talked about how the strength of Venturini's, how in 7 wins here in Daytona, they've had at least 2 cars finish in the top 5 each of those wins. They've got 2 cars right now running 1-2.
Yeah, it was coordinated really well to perfection, and being able to get those runs and take advantage of it. I mean, you saw how close that clear was for the 55, and now they got the chance to really control the race for their 2 cars and really have a 1-car buffer for Corey Heim.
Let's get an update on the leader, Kate.
The team is telling Corey Heim to expect the unexpected and keep that 55 on your bumper. Be ready. And as you can see, that yellow that restart was a great one for Corey Heim.
We talk about having patience, but now is not the time for Nick Sanchez, Raja to have patience, because this race could end at any moment as we see Daniel Dye moving around the outside of Raja in the 6 car.
I feel like Nick really holds the key to this race, and understanding, you know, when that run's going to be coming in the outside lane and how to take it, use it to your advantage to be able to take it on these 2 leaders. He tried to cover it.
He tried. It was too late, though. He was too late moving up in front of Daniel Dye, as we see Brett Holmes now pushing Daniel Dye.
Sanchez really dropping back in that 2, kind of shuffled to mid-pack there as he's trying to find a dancing partner. Amber Balkin 3 wide.
It's really going to hurt the outside lane here. It's going to take quite a few laps for that outside lane to get back composed and be able to pull forward. So Daniel Dye's now leading it, and he needs a little bit of help from behind to take it to the 2 Venturini cars.
10 laps to go. ARCA Menards Series race here at Talladega.
Side draft going wrong there, wasn't it?
Just letting him know he was there. That's what the business is picking up, though. You see, they might even have a tire rub on that car.
Fortunately, these are composite bodies. They're not like metal to slice those tires, as we see Gus Dean jump down below the yellow line. Probably a little bit of a push from Raja on the 6.
I think that 43 car is pretty fast. He just needs a little bit of help behind him.
You see him side drafting up right off of Raja, doing a nice job, trying to pull that 6 car back with the draft.
That's what it's going to take. You're going to have to work extra hard, especially when you don't have the help, and being able to get that outside lane with some energy, with some compression. And you got 2 really good cars behind you with Brett Holmes and Nick Sanchez, and you got to be able to continue that run. I think the outside lane's got to stay committed to each other for at least a few laps here, as you see the pushings getting really aggressive.
Brett Holmes getting impatient. Is it too soon?
Wrecking in the lead.
Come on.
Daniel Dye goes away, goes around, tries to save it, the 43.
Good save. No, that's not what he wants, but it's a good save, keeping that car, and still has a shot to continue the race. And
that's the caution. That's
being
told
caution is out.
Race.
That's it.
We need the replay, see who the leader is.
Remember, the ARCA officials will go to whatever video they have to determine who's leading, who's ahead at the moment of the caution flag. We'll have to go back and look to see exactly who was ahead when the caution was displayed. And actually, it's when we're hearing that Nick Sanchez is going to be crowned the winner, and the 23 of Brett Holmes will be second.
Nick Sanchez. We talked about him all race long. He got shuffled back with 2 laps before that caution.
That is awesome. Thank you, guys.
Where did he come from? How did he pull that off right there?
Good job. Really good. Good job, guys.
This is exactly the moment that ARCA
timestamp on the bottom of the screen.
Looked at the timestamp, yes, and the 2 is clearly ahead.
How about the 44th Thad Moffitt are going to be 4th? What a job, though, by Nick Sanchez.
He stayed up front all race and kept himself in contention. Let's see what happened here with the 43. Obviously, Brett Holmes gets a big run.
Yeah, Brett was not going to stay in line. He was going to try to go to the outside, I think, of the 43 to try to get around him.
He tries to cover the 20, just too late on that block, and Nick Sanchez threaded the needle between the three of them, 3 wide, to end up getting the win of the race. That's pretty exciting.
How did the 43 of Daniel Dye wreck at the front of the field and did not take anybody else with him?
That's amazing.
It's good heads-up driving.
Here they are going in the corner. You see, we got a good run going on the 20.
Down to the quarter here on entry. Down to the quarter.
But now the 43 is going to move to the outside.
Stay off. Inside quarter. Inside. He's inside. He's inside. He's inside.
You hear the spotter saying he was inside. He never got the clear signal from the spotter to move down in front of Corey Heim.
And that's the thing about the communication piece. You know, it's really important to understand that and expect that information. And obviously they're racing for the win. The emotions are high and trying to get it done. And just a little bit late on both of those blocks. And but he put himself in position to try and win the race. And Nick Sanchez was able to recover from getting shuffled and come home with a win.
He went through the middle. That's where he came from.
Unbelievable. Now that was a sweet move.
It's not too late, is it?
I'd say that's the winner.
Most. Yes, I would say so. Nick Sanchez gets his 2nd career win in the ARCA Menards Series. Pumped.
There's no better win than a Speedway win, because you come into the racetrack knowing that the highest of highs and the lowest of lows can happen. Being able to coordinate everything, there's a little bit of luck involved, and obviously coming down to a finish like that, that's always really exciting as he puts the flag in the car, and I'm sure he's going to be really pumped.
When he got shuffled back, I figured he was out of it. I mean, he was out of contention. He was shuffled back to about 8th or 10th, it seemed like. And then, man, he really made some aggressive moves to try to get back up in position and shot through the middle when it opened up.
Nick Sanchez is our winner. He's standing by trackside with Kate.
Look at that smile. Nick Sanchez, congratulations. Putting yourself in contention for that win all race, but it came down to that final lap. How did you thread the needle that way?
Yeah, I mean, they told me the last caution was going to end it, so I was just driving. I was driving pretty aggressive, just trying to get to the front before someone wrecked. Yeah, it was kind of every man for themselves right there, and I think me and my Max Eagle too. Chevrolet did great, and thank you to Max Eagle, everyone from NASCAR Drive for Diversity, Team Chevy. I'm freaking elatic.
Elatic. Hey, words are hard when you win here at Talladega. The ecstatic. See, it's just Nick Sanchez.
Here with Corey Heim, ended up finishing 3rd. How do you come to terms with what happened at the end of that race, given you led 11 laps in this thing?
You don't really. I think that's just a joke. Right from the end there, my spotter told me that the race is going to end under caution, whatever the next flag was. So that's just a joke. If they want the series to run like that, then that's one thing. But I don't know. I mean, my Crescent Tools Camry was amazing all day. We had great speed, and we waited right to the very end there and winded early. I don't know why we scheduled these races if it's too close to the next race, but it's just kind of ridiculous. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
3rd place finish, but some disappointment for Corey Heim, guys.
A little frustration there by him. Let's look at the General Tire final results. Nick Sanchez, your winner. Brett Holmes, by the way, Nick Sanchez was in a car that was bought by Brett Holmes. Corey Heim 3rd, Thad Moffitt, great run, and Ryan Huff, your top 5. Amber Balkin, top 10 run for her, really nice
great
work.
Great job. Max Gutierrez rounds out the top 10.
Austin Cindric, I think it was your words of encouragement to Nick Sanchez. Well done by you today, well done by him on track.
Well, I think that's the definition of Speedway racing. You got one guy that's obviously disappointed that he lost, and one guy who's making up words. He's #elatic. So,
but I think there's probably more than one guy disappointed.
Yeah, no kidding.
They lost. Yeah.
Major League Baseball is coming up next right here on FS1. You want to continue with the Xfinity Series that's coming up on Fox, race day, and the Xfinity Series race presented by Credible. And of course, tomorrow, it's Cup racing, the Geico 500 from Talladega. Race coverage begins at 2 p.m. Eastern. Well, Nick Sanchez led the most important lap of them all, the last one, and he claimed victory. It was an exciting one all over the map.
A lot of great moves, a lot of great driving.
Good side-by-side racing.
Yeah, good side-by-side racing just about throughout.
For Phil Parsons, Austin Cindric, Josh and Kate, I'm Jamie Little. Thank you so much for watching. Baseball is next.